further along the track than I am, and then yeah, we'll kind of take it from there. Eh?
Yep, sounds good.
Sweet. All right, all right. Well, welcome back to the show. It's the Time to Grub Dad podcast, and today I have got a friend, I guess. Most people I know are friends, associates, acquaintances. Jenny with me here today. First off, thanks for taking your time. It is a Sunday. I think most people can kind of understand Sundays are family time, but I'm going to try to keep this nice and short so we both can kind of go back to doing what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe for our dear listeners who don't know about you, maybe if you want to kind of say like what you do for work, how many kids do you have, and yeah, we can sort of go from there.
Cool. Kia ora, I'm Jenny. I am a physiotherapist. I work in specialist mental health, which is kind of a niche area of physiotherapy, I suppose. And within that, I work with youth, so under 18s mostly. So I suppose sometimes my parenting philosophies extend to work as well, or they all. I feel like I have a parenty type hat on most of the day, even when I'm not at home. Um, and I know Chung through powerlifting stuff, although I'm not powerlifting
We're
at the
both washed
moment.
up at this
Doing,
point.
yeah, I know we're both
We're both
washed
very
up.
washed up. All
Absolutely. No, we don't say washed up. We say we're
no, no,
exploring
we're
other
exploring. We're
physical pursuits.
exploring.
Yeah.
I think the only person
Um,
that I know, which I'll definitely look to get on the show at some point, will be Carly and
who's still, yeah,
Susie.
still doing it.
And again, I
Yeah.
guess Susie did take a year ish off from
Yeah.
training, but I think Carly was kind of the only one who really sort of
Push
powered
through.
through. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
like I don't know
Oh,
how you
I
people
mean,
do it.
I guess my whole powerlifting career, which was maybe 6 or 7 years, was through children. Like I had children that entire time, but yeah, I have not continued at this stage. But no, I have three biological children. A 15-year-old girl, a 13-year-old who prefers to not be gendered, and a 10-year-old girl. And I also have a 9-year-old stepson. And so it's
A
a
big
it's a
family.
busy house. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
busy
busy
house.
household.
Very
Yeah,
busy
not
house.
they're not all here all at the same time. The stepson we have every second weekend. But it's lots and it's
Ooh.
busy and it's it's full on. But yeah.
Yeah. How do you? I guess the question there I have, because I know you mentioned about work and working with sort of children
Mm,
people under the age of
mm,
18.
mm-hmm,
How do you? And this is something I probably struggle a little bit with, kind of my line of work. So for those who don't know, I coach full time, and I think probably this is going to affect. Maybe you can give me an insight here. Like, how do you go through a whole day of work? People are under 18. You sort of mentioned your children were 15 and under too. So
mm.
very much within that age range. How do you how do you leave work at the door and kind of come home and be as present as you can? Because I can only imagine, like for me, like when I talk to people, at least my coach people, at least they're sort of within my age range or potentially a lot older.
Mm.
And so and my young one's 18 months, so it's a lot easier for me to kind of like, cool, like we'll switch off and
Switch.
just be dumb, like whatever you want to
Yeah,
do, like we'll just babble
yeah,
and talk baby language. But how
yeah,
do you sort of do that? Because I can definitely foresee myself being in that position and yeah, years to
yeah.
come.
Um, there's a couple of things, I suppose. One is that the work I do with the young people is like quite specific work for like specific problems they have. And if when my own kids are like having those problems, I definitely would outsource. So like I don't try and be like the mental health support to my children. Like obviously I'm their mum, so like I am their support, but if they need specific like counseling or health advice or even physiotherapy for what you would think of as musculoskeletal physiotherapy, I just wouldn't do it myself.
Mm.
Or as another example to that, in another lifetime, I was a swimming teacher, but I never tried to teach my kids how to swim because they just wouldn't listen to
Mm.
mum. So I, sent them to swimming lessons. So there,
Yeah.
at least I'm not like doing my job, my work stuff at home. I'm just
Mm.
being mum at home. But I think I'm probably not super good at that separation actually, in terms of I do quite often get like empathy fatigue. I'm only just getting better at recognizing that and warning people about that. So being like, actually, everything at work and at home is full on now. I'm going to be a shit friend. So don't come to me for like if you're my mate and you need some like help, just give me a couple of days kind of thing. Or I will often, when I get home, the kids are usually ready to decompress anyway from school or whatever. So I'll say, I'm just going to go charge my phone in the bedroom for 10 minutes, and I'll plug my phone into the bedroom, and I will unashamedly doom scroll for a while on my own in the bedroom, and the kids will do whatever they're doing. And then when I come out, I'm like, all right, like, let's go mum mode now. And I think taking that back to the stage you're in now, carving out the moments. You're probably quite good at this, although you have to get up really early for it. Carving out the
Oh
moments
yeah.
in your day that are just for you, and that are unguiltifiably just for you. It's not a word, but you know what I mean. Like you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
right, this is my time, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. And when my kids were really little, like obviously I had three under five for a while. My husband would take them, he would get up early for work and have all the kids when they woke up, and I would sleep until 7:30 every morning. And that was like always just a protected me time. So if I woke up at 6:30, I knew I could just like doze in bed or read a book or like really like
Mm.
have some me time for myself. And then I was like thrown into the deep end, obviously. But I knew no matter how bad the night was, like if I'd been up four times in the night or
Oh,
no
yeah.
matter what had happened, I knew I could always just have that like 6:30 or 7:30 a.m. time for myself. And then once I were a little bit older, and I started going to the gym, I would always just like feed them dinner, walk out the door, and I was like, well, once I've fed, in between the time they're fed and have to go to bed, that's 1 hour where they're doing not much. Dad can look after them, then that's my gym time. And just did not feel bad about that because I kind of needed that
Mm.
time. And yeah, again, I would spend, um, sometimes I'd just take like a screen break in terms of not not what you'd think about as a screen break, and that I would go away and be on my screen on purpose because I just
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
zone
Yeah.
out from my kids. Um, yeah, so being like a little bit selfish on purpose is probably what got me through, I would say. There have been times when I've been like a little bit less present. And then you
Mm.
get pulled back to reality by the kids saying, "Oh, mum, you're on your phone too much," or you realize you haven't really been listening to what they're saying, and you have to kind of pull yourself back, and be properly present. But yeah, the work life separation is probably my one takeaway, is that you have to be like a bit selfish on purpose to carve out those moments for yourself.
Yeah, we sort of do that a little bit differently. Well, kind of to what you sort of did, but so I have to sacrifice sleep to get up to do like the carve out time thing.
Mm,
So I usually get up at 5.
mm,
That's 4:30,
mm.
5. That's usually my current wake up time. And
Yeah.
then yeah, to your point there with obviously your husband, so taking them and you going to a gym, that's sort of what I'm doing
Mm,
as well at night. So usually
yeah.
sort of like I'll be putting him down. Obviously when the second one does come, no
Mm,
choice, mum would have to,
mm,
feed him or her. We still don't know the gender yet at this
mm,
point.
mm.
um, so obviously that will be, yeah, night times at this point, just kind of giving Claire a little bit of breathing space. And I was like, she always asks me, "So, do you need
mm,
me to put him down?" I'm like, "Nah, it's all good. Like, I'll figure it out." Yeah, like you go do
mm,
you.
mm,
I think that is important
mm,
for everyone to have some
mm,
breathing space. Yeah,
mm. And like I guess further to that point, as the kids were a bit older, so maybe yeah, actually probably from 18 months onwards, like you know how you might have a bedtime that's like 7 or whatever, but if the kid's like sick or like annoying and like won't go to bed and it's like
yeah,
dragging on towards 8, like I was like, fine, if you have to be up, that's fine, but I am like off duty. So I was a really boring parent from like 7 o'clock onwards. If they were out in the lounge and like refusing to go to bed, I wasn't playing with them. I wasn't, I was keeping them
yeah,
like safe and alive, but it was not a fun time. So there wasn't sort of any major benefit in like drawing out bedtime because I was like boring as anything mum after once I like clocked off, like,
yeah. But I think
um,
in your case too,
yeah,
like, because the age gap sounded like it's not too big, so I
no,
can only imagine, like, you know, for those who are parents out there, you 100% can relate to this. Like, at some point, you just get so drained. Like,
yeah,
I mean, like, when you have that hard clock off time, you're like, oh, like, I just
yeah.
don't have any more
Yeah,
to give. I literally
yeah, you're
don't.
just like yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
like,
It's not like yeah, you're being boring because that's all you can be, not because you're
yeah, like,
choosing
you
to be
literally don't
boring.
have
Yeah,
anything else. Like, you're like,
yeah,
it's not like I don't want to. Like, I'm literally done.
yeah,
I have nothing
yeah,
more to give. Yeah, but it looks like at this
absolutely.
point in time, at least all three of your kids, not too sure about your stepson because I don't really
Mm,
see too much of it in socials, but that's aside the point. They
yeah,
seem to be
yeah,
they seem to love your company, um, like a lot. Or at least
yeah,
the way I'm kind of looking at it. How do you? And it also looks like they have varying interests. We sort of talked off air on air. I can't remember, but what
mm-hmm.
two of them are. Well, all of them are quite artsy, but some of them like different things. How do you? Yeah, how did
Yeah,
you get to that point? Like just fostering that really tight knit relationship between you guys, and see they have different interests as well. So do you find yourself having the
yeah,
need to learn all of their interests and like
yeah.
partake in all of it, or like how do you do that?
Um, that's kind of two separate questions, I think. The interest
Yeah.
thing, and then the like, how do you be like
Mm.
close to your kids? I think the how do you I mean, I always said from the beginning that I wanted to raise kids that I wanted to hang out with. So, like,
Mm.
if there were behaviors that I wouldn't want in a friend or someone I'd want to spend lots of time with, then I was trying to like train them out of my kids as much as you can do that. Not that you can sometimes, but someone said something to me a long time ago that I can't even remember who it was, or maybe I read it in a parenting book, but it has stuck with me through all the years, and I think that's helped with them wanting to hang out with me thing. Is that, and I'm paraphrasing, and I don't even know if I'm paraphrasing it correctly, but it's basically that like you have to when kids come to you with little things, you have to pretend that they're big things because to the kid they are big things. So basically,
Mm.
when your 4-year old like really wants to talk to you in intricate detail about like how a digger like fork like scoop
Yeah.
works, you just be like, wow, that's really interesting, and I pretend that I really care about that even that I don't, because that's like the biggest thing in their world right now. And then they
Mm.
learn, oh, mum cares about the stuff that's important to me, so that when they get older they will come to you with the stuff that you actually do want to know about and
Totally,
would
totally.
want to hear about. So that sounds really easy in theory, but like in practice, it means that like, I don't know, your 8-year old wants to tell you in great detail about their best friend at school's like cousins, like birthday party that they weren't even at, and you have to listen to like all the like tiny details and pretend it's interesting to you. But the payoff is that when they're teenagers, they will like, well, mine do anyway. They will just sit in the car on the way home from school and talk to you about like kind of stuff that you're like, oh gosh, I actually did want to know about that. Like it is important for me to know that, your best friend is struggling with something really big, or that, your the subject at school is going really well for you and the subject is going really bad for you or whatever.
Mm.
And so that kind of like realizing that the little boring things or the little things that seem boring to you are really the biggest thing in your kid's brain, and then kind of treating them accordingly, I think has worked
Mm.
quite well. And then that can be quite hard when you've got three kids coming at you with all the mundane, boring things. But it's kind of like if a friend came to you with something and you didn't really find it interesting, but because you respect them as a friend, you would at least listen and maybe ask some follow up questions about it and try and remember it to ask them later. Like treating your kids like little humans. I mean, they are obviously humans, but you know what I mean? Like not just being like,
Mm.
oh, that's nice, dear. Like I don't really care about tractor diggers and like that random person's birthday party. So I think that's helped a little bit with the relationships stuff. Um, and then the interests. I don't know. I don't think I did a very good. I don't know. My kids don't really do that many extracurriculars, and they're not really sporty, and they're not really. Well, I guess they do like drama and climbing sometimes and swimming lessons, but they have none of them have really found their big thing that they're really really good at. And like I really wanted to be like I really wanted one of my kids to be really good at swimming, and I wanted to be a swimming mum, and I wanted to have a kid that was like really good at doing swim meets and
Yeah.
like because that's what I like doing, right? And
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
I wanted to like drive them to the pool, and we'd go to like competitions, and like I really wanted to, but like no one was into that, and I just had to like I forced it a little bit, but they none of them wanted to do swimming races, and I just had to be okay with it, I suppose. um, and and so yeah, I guess maybe I could have tried harder to find other sporting things they were into, but you just can't force it, I suppose. So you do have to like, I suppose, let go of your own stuff a little bit, um, and yeah, realize you can't live vicariously through your kids, even though you really want to. um, and so maybe because I haven't pushed them too hard and stuff they don't want to do, maybe that has helped with our
Mm. The
relationship.
relationship. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I can definitely like relate, like not that we even know what he's interested in, but I can already like,
yeah,
oh man,
yeah,
I really wish you would do that when you're a lot older.
yeah,
It's already in my head.
yeah,
It's on like a replay. I'm like, but then like
yeah.
I kind of also think of it like, oh, in reality, if my parents did that to me and sort of made me take interest in what they're interested in, like I
Mm,
I remember like they used to love golf. I remember they would leave me at home and to play golf, and I'm like, well, I'm actually kind of glad that they did really took me to golf because, like, up to this point, I have zero interest in golf whatsoever. I'm like, that's not my
totally.
thing, not my thing. I
Yeah.
think, like, if they forced it, I might have felt like, oh, like, why are you making me do this? Especially as a teenager, I
Hmm.
feel like,
Hmm.
oh, like that stage, that'll be challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so I was thinking more about the like relationship building, particularly with older kids. I have found a lot of value in a hangout that doesn't include face to face. So when I've had the older ones, particularly going through like a tough period, we would go for a drive, and that was quite good because you're both looking the same way, and they're more likely to. I
Open
guess
up a
you're
little
just
bit
giving
more.
them, yeah, open up, yeah, they're more likely to
Yeah.
say stuff if they don't have to look you in the eye, but also just having that time to be like, oh, this is, I've got like an hour free today and I want to hang out with you. Let's go for a drive and get an ice cream. That's quite valuable to it, especially if kids from a bigger
Mm,
family. Having that one-on-one time is pretty important. It's kind of hard to carve out, but even just that, it might not come out that day. They might not say much that day, but then a couple of days later they might bring something up. But what you've done is you've shown them that they're important to you, I suppose, by being like, yeah, we're just gonna go for a drive and hang out for an hour, just you and me, kind of thing. Yeah,
yeah, for
that,
sure. I want to switch gears a little bit because
yeah,
I am I I am a dad, and one of the things that I do tend to find that plays a lot on my personal mind, and I'm sure a lot of other father figures would can relate to this, is that I I hear stories about mum struggles and stuff like that. And obviously, I see sort of mums, and obviously Claire sort of going through her own struggles, postpartum depression and all the stuff that honestly, dads kind of go through too, but not potentially not to a degree
Mm,
as a mum. But one of the
mm,
biggest things is like I don't. I feel like I could do more. At least personally, I feel like I want to do more, but I don't really know where or what or how. So I guess to you, a question for you is, what was the most challenging thing, or what is the most challenging thing being a mum to three plus one and cats?
hmm Yeah,
What's like,
cameo appearance.
yeah, oh my god, like they're a handful.
hmm
But yeah, what's the most challenging thing? Because I always sort of ask that, like, hey, like, do you need help with anything, whatever? And it sounds like it's more like day-to-day chores, less so of like the big stuff. Now I know not everyone wants to open up even to partners and stuff like that. It's not always something that people can just kind of openly. Hopefully they do, but yeah, like, what's your take on that? What's your experience?
It's 100% the little things. You said the daily chores.
Okay,
They are
the little things. Okay.
the, I don't know, you've probably heard of the term mental load.
Yep.
That it's the fact
Okay.
that in traditional families, the female parent is usually in charge of, I guess, I mean, and this is not to say this is the case in your family, but traditionally it's usually the female parent that
Mm,
has the, um, it's not just the housework, it's like the remembering the parents' birthdays and the remembering the
gotcha.
preschool like shared lunch and remembering the immunizations that are due and the next parent teacher
Mm,
interview and the fact that we've nearly run out of cat food and the
yeah.
gardens need doing. And, it's just like this never ending mental list. And when somebody
Yeah.
says, how can I help? Or make me a list of things I can do to help, that's like another thing we have to do. So
Gotcha.
um, it's almost like uh, I suppose it's like noticing that those things need to be done and then almost just either just doing them or instead of saying, how can I help? Being like, oh, I'm
Mm.
going to, I can use my eyes and look around the house and I can actually see that the gardens need doing. So uh, I'm
Just like,
going to
just do it.
advertise
Like,
for
don't
a
even need.
gardener.
Yeah, don't
I'm
even
gonna
ask.
take that
Just
bit.
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Don't
yeah.
even ask.
Just like, yeah, don't ask, or be like, yeah, or sort of, I don't know, like it's not just the female parent's responsibility to notice that the nappies are low. Like maybe you can just like order a nappies subscription that comes every week, or you know what I mean, like just general like
Yeah,
it's
it's the small stuff, but that adds
the
up.
small stuff, but it's just so it really is the big stuff, and it really is that really is the hardest bit is the
Gotcha.
remembering all the stuff. I would say it's definitely it, and it's not it seems really silly to say I would feel overwhelmed by the fact that we're getting low on toilet paper, but it's just everything on top of that, I
Yeah, yeah,
suppose.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that I mean that is a thing that comes up. I feel like I'm saying a trope that has been said lots of times, but the fact that so many mums still struggle with this is maybe it hasn't been said enough.
Fair
Yeah,
enough. Yeah,
and
100%.
I don't know, like yeah, the clothes, like the kid's gonna need winter clothes, but it's always the mum that organises that, and
Mhm.
um, but yeah. I'm sure I'm not saying you're doing a bad job on that. You might be doing a really good job on that, but it is probably for your listeners. I
Oh,
would like
probably
them to
for
hear
me
that.
too. I think it's probably for me
Yeah.
too. Like, sort of listening to what you say there, I think the big one, that kind of what you said there, which I'm definitely, I wouldn't like, I'm not saying I'm a great dad or partner. I'm sure there's things that I could do better. But I think a big thing you said there was don't ask what you need help with, because that just adds
Mm,
it to the list. Like I think
mm,
that's a big thing, because if you're
mm.
saying, "Oh, what do I need help with?" Now I got to make a damn list. It's like, oh my god,
Yeah, and
now
now
I have to think
it's
of what's important, what's not important, and
yeah, it's
and I never really thought about that. So yeah, I
it's
definitely will
treating.
keep
I
my mouth
guess
shut.
it's treating your co-parent as a co-parent rather than as the manager of the household, and then you're reporting to them and then they're delegating tasks to you. That's how it would feel when you're asked for help. And we don't sometimes
Mm,
want to be the household manager. We just want to exist in the household with our co-parent, and we're both responsible for the tasks, I suppose. And I think you can extend
mm,
that to if you have listeners listening that maybe don't have children yet, or maybe are thinking of it and have friends that are having children. I think that stuff goes to when you are supporting someone with a new baby, saying, "Oh, let's sing out if you need help," or "How can I help?" Is it's really hard to accept that or to think about what you need as a new parent. Whereas if you say, tomorrow I'm making a lasagna and I'm going to make a double batch. When would you like me to drop it off to you? Is far more helpful than, I'll just sing out if you want a meal, because they won't sing out. Or, hey, I'm going to
mm,
the grocery store and I will be buying toilet paper. Do you guys need some? I'll just drop it off on your doorstep. And
mm.
that kind of thing is actually taking a whole another bit of mental load off your mates, or whatever, if you're trying to help someone out. So,
Yeah, for sure. And I think like it's the small things that add up. Sort of reflecting back when sort of Henry was first born, there were, everything's hindsight 2020, and but sort of thinking back, like a lot of the small things that were being done but not being asked that whether it needs to be done. So
mm,
for context, my parents came over. They stayed with us for a little bit, and I think the
mm,
biggest thing that helped was um, like the cooking. Like because we were kind of
mm,
thrown into parenthood, like the first one. Usually
mm,
the second one, it seems like the second one is you kind of know a little bit more what you need and not need to do, but the first one's
mm.
literally like you have
Yeah,
it's like a nuclear bomb. And I think the biggest one actually
absolutely.
was like cooking. Like I always
Yeah.
had this thing in my head. I was like, you know what, like it's easy, like I'll just cook like twice a week, meal prep and good. I'm like, that did not happen. Like I think, like
Mm-mm.
reflecting back, like I don't think I would have potentially done it. Like mentally I
Mm.
was very, very checked out. And
Mm-hmm.
I think like yeah, the small things definitely do it up. And yeah, to
Uh,
double
yeah,
back on what you said, like don't ask. Like it's probably quite obvious what needs to be done.
yeah.
Just do it. And it's just like, hey,
And
done
I
it.
would, yeah, if you're ever visiting someone with a newborn baby, like, don't show up without food. Like, the best,
Oh yeah, like any food, anything
any food, yeah. And
at that
especially,
point.
like, I think I can remember the best thing someone bought me or came over with when I had, I don't know, maybe my second or third, was just like all this kind of like quick and easy grab to go stuff. Like, they had a whole bunch of like deli meats and cheeses and some big pull apart breads. And I was like so hungry from being sleep deprived and like
Oh
breastfeeding and
yeah.
all that, that like being able to grab a big chunk of bread and all this like nice deli stuff in the fridge, it was like absolute heaven. And it was so simple for that person to just go to the supermarket and grab some stuff. But I like literally remember this like 13 years later because it was like so nice. And
Yeah.
yeah, you just get, yeah, like you say, it's like a nuclear bomb's gone off, eh? And you can't, you're starving, but you can't formulate the thought to be like, what will I put in my belly? So having like real simple stuff to eat is gold. Simple stuff that
Yeah.
somebody else brought over. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think like yeah, definitely advice for people who have friends who are going to be new parents. Definitely like
Mm.
food. Don't like particularly with like I think like in hindsight, baby showers and all that's great, but like the best way to help
Yeah.
is just get food. Honestly, like
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that
Or
you
like,
can
yeah.
do. Food is probably the one that will be top of the
Yeah.
list, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, but a good baby shower present would be like a voucher to like the nearest takeaway to that person's house,
Yeah,
probably.
just like
Yeah.
$200 of like Uber
Yeah.
Eats. It's just
Yeah,
something.
absolutely.
$200 Uber Eats, or like
Yeah.
like
It's
a
better
week, like a
than
week subscription of like not even my food, like literally those like
the ones, the
frozen meals,
ready-made ones.
the
Yeah,
ready-made meals, like literally
absolutely.
just like a
Yeah,
subscription. It's like that will be honestly that's a lifesaver. Um,
100%.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, here's a question I ask a lot of. Well, I say a lot. I kind of want to make it sound like it's a lot, but all the guests so far that I've been talking to is what what big lessons have your kids taught you? Like, what are some big lessons that being a mum, being a parent thus far, 15 years into parenthood, what is the biggest lesson? I know there's multiple, but the biggest.
Ooh, probably probably taking being in the present, so like taking joy in the moment that is existing in front of you, because this will sound really trite to somebody that's living in the middle of toddler hell, but like the days really are like like long, and then the years are short. Like it just goes by so quick. And if I could like go back to any point in time in my life right now, it probably would be like when all the kids were little, and just like treasuring those very short periods of time when they're so tiny and they're so cute. And I think I did do a pretty good job of enjoying them when they were little, but it just goes by so quick. And I often like think back to those times and how like cool it was, like watching them grow and develop and like get their little personalities and stuff. And
Yeah.
trying to think, as hard as it is right now, like it will be over so quick. And it's a really cool, it's a really a cool privilege to be able to watch a little person turn into a little person, I suppose. And so being able to just enjoy that period of time, even though it's hard, has been quite valuable. And I feel like maybe in 20 years' time, I'll still look back to the time period I'm in right now and be like, God, that was quite good. And for the most part, I do think I have a pretty good life, and I do really like genuinely enjoy hanging out with my kids. Um, like, and then I quite often feel uh, like joy in the fact that I've made humans that I like hanging out with, and they know I like hanging out with them. It is genuine. It's not just me pretending to enjoy hanging out with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose enjoying the present moment. That was a long way of saying my biggest lesson
Yeah.
probably is just
Yeah.
being not waiting for the next thing, just enjoying the moment you're in. Because before I had kids, I was always waiting for the next thing to happen, and thinking, oh yeah, my life will be good
Mm,
when the next thing happens. But actually,
right.
for most of us listening, your life is pretty good right now, even though you
Oh
might not
yeah.
feel that way. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. The fact that you're listening to this somehow, like you've got internet,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're,
Yeah.
you're
That's
pretty
right.
set,
Yeah.
like everything's
Yeah.
perspective, of course, but like, the fact that you
That's
have that,
right.
the ability
Yeah.
to go onto the internet, listen to this. Funnily
Yeah.
enough, like super tangible, I think like a lot of people are actually saying like internet is starting to become more and more of a daily necessity at this point in
Mm,
time. Like,
yeah.
people say like, food, water, house, food, water, roof. I think like
Mm.
we're kind of getting very close to a point where internet is it's pretty close to being a necessity. I think there's
Well,
definitely an
it's
argument for
it's
that.
connection, isn't it? Like we, one of
Mm,
the human necessities is actually connection, and when connection means being online, then you totally is. Yeah,
yeah,
totally
yeah,
is a
yeah,
necessity. Yeah.
yeah. Something I picked out really quickly. I know we're sort of running short on time, but you said like if you were to kind of obviously go back in time and cherish the moments. Obviously, you did say like you felt like you've done a really good job, which is awesome. But ironically, we talked about the internet. 10, 15 years ago is very different to
Yeah.
real basically 10, 15 now, right? I think back then
Yeah.
the internet was a thing, but social media wasn't really a thing. And now, obviously,
Yeah.
kids that are 6 to 8, as far as I'm aware, like very they understand what social media is. Like, would you
Yeah.
not necessarily would you change anything reflecting back, but what would your advice currently be for parents to try to make sure that they enjoy the time with their kids? Because that's obviously something as a big thing for you, but
Mm,
also, again, 15 years ago, it's a big difference. Even 10 years ago, um, kind of the socio-economical status and internet connection is super different. What would be your advice? Because I'm literally in that boat now. I'm kind of thinking, we were talking about it, me and Claire were like, far out, like, what do we do when he discovers technology and the whole world of the internet? Back when we grew up, it wasn't really a thing.
mm,
We went out, we played in the sand, we ate dirt, we got sick.
yeah,
Sunday morning cartoons, you got to wait for Sunday morning cartoons, and now it's like, you want Bluey, here's 3 seasons,
yeah,
40
yeah,
episodes a season. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
boom, it's
yeah.
on. How do you, what would
Um,
your advice be?
I mean, I will be coming at this question, I guess, from like a mental health perspective and the fact that I work in that space as well.
Yes,
And
yes.
obviously you can see the negative effects, but I think we have to acknowledge like the internet's not going away. It's not going anywhere. We can't protect our kids from it. We can't shield them from it in terms of like them not having access to it. So it is going to happen. So in the early days, and I mean, I guess we didn't have like as much internet when mine were little, but I was online a lot. I was like an early adopter of online stuff. But I had a policy when they were younger that I was okay with screen time, but only in the afternoon. And
Gotcha.
that so what I did was no matter how tired I was, we got out of the house. We did like play centre, went to the park, went to a friend's house, did lots of stuff in the morning. And then we
Mm.
had lunch, and then we had like afternoon nap or whatever. And then from that point on, I was like, go for it. You guys, even little kids, and I like this might not be good advice, but I mean, I suppose after all of that, you've really only got a period of less than 2 hours where they will be looking at a screen anyway, because you've done all your morning stuff, you've had lunch, you've had your nap, and then it's going to be dinner time in a couple hours. So at max, there would be 2 hours, and that's just under 2 hours is kind
Yeah,
of like
yeah,
the
yeah.
screen time guidance, right? But it
Mm.
also meant that I wasn't there was that was just the blanket rule. So when the kid asked for it in the morning, I was like, oh no, but it's morning. Like that's not what we do.
Yeah,
It
that's not
was
what we
just like an
do.
external thing, or that was just the rule. Like it wasn't necessarily even me saying it. I was just like, oh no, remember like screen time only in the afternoons. Or however you set it up for your family. Like it might be different for other things, but there was just times when it just wasn't even an option. We weren't
Mm.
unless I was sick or whatever.
Yeah, like you said.
And and also it meant that I had no guilt about it. So I was like, well, it's the time that I
Gotcha.
have put. I
Put
I've
aside that
gone
area.
hard. Yeah, I've put aside. The kids have had lots of physical activity, lots of social activity. They're worn out. They've got all that good brain development stuff happening, like in the morning. And now I'm gonna zone out and cook dinner or have my me time for an hour or whatever, and they're gonna watch TV, and I'm not guilty about it because it's been built into our routine. And that helped, I think. Because if I was doing it in a more haphazard way, I'd be like, oh heck, like what screen time have they had this morning? Like, can I let them have it? And then they'd be like nagging because I think that it was an option at any time of the day. But when it was just part of the routine, so like after 3 o'clock, then it was kind of okay. As
Mm.
I get older, it does get a bit murkier. Obviously, I think you can't underestimate for teenagers the power of social connection. Like it is the time when their brains really, really, really need social connection. And if all their friends are socially connecting via Instagram DMs, say that's how they organize their meetups, that's how they send memes to each other, that's how they chit chat about what's going on at school, and you aren't allowing them to have that. That would be
Mm.
like the equivalent of when we were little, like our parents like cutting off the phone line. Like I don't know if when I
Yeah.
was a kid, like I would spend after school till dinner time, like on the like the
on
corded, the
the
telephone with
corporate,
it. Yeah, yeah.
thing.
I don't know what we talked about because we were yapping all day at school and then all afternoon on the telephone. But it's not. There's always going to be the thing that the above generation is really worried about. Like I don't know, in the 50s, the parents were really, really worried about records and like bad music playing on records
Yes,
and how it was going to like ruin the children or like comic books or there is always a thing. And like obviously internet is more pervasive than any of those things, but you have to sort of look at a bigger picture rather than putting a blanket rule on it. For us, the school that our kids go to, they are allowed from year 7. They're allowed to. They have rules about being allowed to go out and explore the city at lunchtime or in certain classes. And for that, they need a way to contact school, so they need to
of
have a
course.
phone. So
Yeah,
our kids have. My youngest is about to turn 11, so she will be getting a phone for her 11th birthday. And some people would say that's too early, but they have to have it for safety stuff, for like school outings and stuff, and because they're catching the bus and stuff from about that age, potentially on their own. But we have always, I've been quite a big fan of like making rules a little bit external to myself. So I'm not saying you guys are not allowed Instagram. I say, oh, the Instagram guidelines are 13 and over, so you're not 13. So like, I'm really sorry, like you can't have
yeah.
it.
You gotta wait till you're
Um,
13.
yeah, like I'm externalizing it a little bit from myself. So it's not just mean mum, it's just mean Instagram.
Yeah, it's like
And
that's the rules. I can't
yeah,
change the rules.
yeah, no, exactly. So I
Yeah.
suppose from 11 they do have a phone, but there's no social media, and we have made it really clear that having a phone is a privilege, and
Yes.
they have to they have to. I mean, they not agree, but like we will be checking it. So I do for my 15-year-old, I don't check her phone. For my 13-year-old, I do check their phone, like just randomly. I know that the
Mm.
condition of them having a phone is that I know the passcode and I will screen it. And I have found, recently found that they had TikTok and they know they're not allowed TikTok. So that prompted a big discussion and they had to delete it. And I check it now to make sure they haven't reinstalled it, that kind of thing. And it was a blanket rule. I
Oh,
said, no one in our family is allowed TikTok, not even me. I'm not allowed TikTok. It's bad for my mental health. So you're definitely not allowed it. So, and it's going to be different for each kid. Like my oldest one was quite responsible. So I probably stopped checking their phone about 13 and a half, 14. But the 13-year-old might need a little bit more guidance on that. But when you get to that stage, hit me up.
yeah. I was gonna say like
I'll probably have more to say.
the
Yeah,
more you said it, the more I was like, oh my god, you know what? Like, just stop time. I was like, I don't want to worry about this
yeah.
shit. It's like, no. And I was like,
It's really hard,
I was like,
and it's
no,
really
no, no.
nuanced.
The more I'm hearing it, I'm
Yeah,
like, no, 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 no,
yeah,
no. It's just like
yeah.
shaking my head in turn. It's like, this is no, 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 no. It's
You
like, it's
can't
like
hide from it.
that's the thing. It's like waiting for the inevitable. It's like it is gonna happen, and I
Yeah,
guess that's kind of a fun way to kind of end the episode as well. It's like one of those things where it's like, and that's really one of another reason why I'm doing this is like I want to kind of talk to a lot of people who have gone down a track. I am gonna attempt, and I've actually already asked my parents. We're gonna basically do like an episode of 1 hour of us yapping, and just put it up there. It's like this is how I talk to my parents, which I think would be
mhm,
quite cool. But yeah, like
mhm,
everything is like it's like waiting for inevitable. It's like I know he's gonna grow up. I know they're gonna grow up. I know they're gonna have these problems. It's like it's so the whole irony about all of that is that you go to your prenatal classes expecting to learn everything, and then you apply maybe 1%. It's kind of like these conversations, and like I think like I will learn a lot, and then like when it happens, I'm like, oh fuck. It's like,
yeah,
oh my god, this is what it means. It's like
yeah, yeah,
this was not what I was told.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's gonna be crazy. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on. I do know as well. Obviously, you work in physiotherapy in a very so unique way. I think you're still doing a little bit of coaching on the side as well, to my knowledge.
Yeah,
If
just
you want
a
to
very
plug
little
away on,
bit.
yeah, if you want to plug away your socials, and stuff like that, if you've got any sort of side hustle businesses that you want to plug away, go for it.
Nah, I don't need any more clients right now.
She's good.
If you really wanna hit me up, I'm at Instagen, but the I is a
It's
one
a
at
one.
one sta Jen,
Yeah, yeah,
Jenn. But yeah, I only really coach special people now.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Special people, but because I don't have much time anymore in my life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, being a
But
parent's
yeah,
hard.
yeah. I do still coach, but probably would only take special people on.
Considerations.
Considerations, yeah. Shout out to my clients. You guys know you're special.
Yeah,
um,
100%.
but
Hey,
yeah,
that's when
yeah.
you know she's a good coach. All right.
But
Well,
yeah,
thanks.
good
Oh,
luck, Chung. You're a great dad already, and you're gonna do a great job when number two comes along. The fact that
no.
you're even thinking about this stuff means you'll be doing a great job.
Yeah, well, thanks. And yeah, thanks for coming on. I'm sure, I think when number two comes up, probably ask for another episode. It's like, all right, what you said didn't work. Give me more. Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening, guys. And I will catch you the next one.
So yeah.